2009 and 2010, and we did have H1N1 swine flu, and well, they never instituted a travel ban. They quarantined nobody. We lost, I think, about 16,000 in the end. Americans lost their lives to H1N1. By the time Obama himself declared it a national emergency, it was 6 months after they had identified the virus. And I'm thinking, I don't remember any of this. We're going to die, pandemonium and fear and panic breaking out.
Well, I think that's right. It's amazing. If you go back and look at the different mini epidemics that we've had in the last 20 years, we've had SARS, we've had the bird flu, or the swine flu, as you point out. We've had MERS. I mean, there's been a whole series of these things. And for some reason this year, maybe because it started in China and the Chinese government lied so intensely about it, that it became a big shock. But this is being treated by the news media worldwide, not just in the United States, much differently than in the past. And I think to some extent it's creating a false sense of panic. This is not something you need to panic about. It's something you need to fix, work on, take the right steps. It's as simple as it sounds. Wash your hands 10 or 12 times a day. All the medical guys will tell you that's the number one way to make sure you don't get this thing. Now, you would think people like Schumer and Pelosi would begin to figure out, our goal here should be to help the American people, not to find some way to try to attack the president.
Well, I mean, if the dog bites or the bee stings, or as the New York Times says, if you're not feeling well, you have Trump coronavirus, you know who to blame. They actually said that. Quick break. More with former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, as we continue. He has an upcoming book coming out. It's called Shakedown. This will be interesting. Quick break, right back, straight ahead. And your calls and an investigation into how deep the Biden mob family corruption goes. Straight ahead.
The Only Way is Through, a new podcast in partnership with iHeartRadio and Under Armour. Join us as we hear from the world's greatest athletes, coaches, and trainers as they discuss how they utilize training, competition, and recovery to improve their performance and push through. Hall of Fame women's basketball coach Muffet McGraw has established the culture of winning through her historic 35-season career at Notre Dame. But this season, Coach and her team are trying everything to stay afloat against a losing record. Here's Coach McGraw.
I've never been in this situation before of having lost 5 starters. And I was just thinking the other day, you know how when you're going through things and the stress of being number one and being the team to beat and being every game knowing you're supposed to win, that really weighs heavy on your shoulders. And I think I said at one point, wouldn't it be great to be the underdog again? And my husband said, be careful what you wish for. And here we are.
Listen to The Only Way is Through. Available now on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, as we continue, former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, is with us. All right, so you see a little bit of panic has kicked in here. I can see it. I hear it. I watch it. And I'm amazed at how ill-informed a number of people are. Of course, we've got to be concerned over any virus. But we lose people to the influenza virus every single year. This virus, unlike H1N1, tends to impact older people with underlying medical conditions or compromised immune systems, and everybody else just gets a flu.
Yeah, I think there are a couple of things. One is it's apparently substantially more dangerous if you're older. And if you'll notice of the loss in nursing homes in Washington State and in China, and I think in northern Italy, have all been very significant. So that's part of it, that it has a sort of shock effect. I think second, the very fact that the Chinese dictatorship refused to admit the virus was out there, even when they were being told again and again by people as early as December, led to this startling notion, because suddenly you had this crisis. They're closing off, they closed up Wuhan, which I think is a city of 20 million people. When you start that, it triggers a whole sense of panic that has been going around the planet now, which I think has been mostly destructive, because, in fact, that's not what you need. You need to calmly and methodically, as I do every day. I read every one of Vice President Pence's briefings. I read what Dr. Fauci says. I read what the head of the CDC says. I read what the public surgeon says. And when you read all that, you get a much more complete sense that this is controllable. It takes some work, but we can get it done. And I think that's a very key part of where we are.
Former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, as always, thank you for being with us. 800-941-SEAN if you want to be a part of the program. The Biden crime family, we have another update, believe it or not, shocking. More corruption. Biden's brother facing new allegations of fraud. This extends far and wide into that Biden family. We'll check in with Peter Schweitzer on the other side. Also, the latest on Corona and much more as we continue.
If you agree with me, go to Joe 30330.
I'm here to ask you for your help. Where I come from, you don't get far unless you ask. My name's Joe Biden. I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate. Look me over. If you like what you see, help out. If not, vote for the other guy. Give me a look, though, okay?
We choose truth over facts. Play the radio. Make sure the television, make sure you have the record player on at night. The phone. Make sure the kids hear words. No man has a right to raise a hand to a woman. We have to just change the culture, period, and keep punching at it and punching at it and punching at it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
But if Donald Trump is reelected, Freudian slip, Donald Trump does pose an extra strength to this. It's not hypothetical.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing. Words that stun the nation, and I would argue, shocked the world. International leaders spoke about it. You had people like you had people like the former chairman and leader of the party in Germany. You had Angela Merkel. Just like in my generation, when I got out of school, that when Bobby Kennedy and Dr. King had been assassinated in the 70s, late 70s, when I got engaged. My son, my deceased son, was the Attorney General of the United States, and before that, he was a federal prosecutor in one of the largest offices in the country, in Philadelphia.
Look, tomorrow's Super Tuesday, and I want to thank you all. I tell you what, I'm rushing ahead, aren't I?
That's something I've heard from some voters, maybe not at your events, but details.
No, but the details are irrelevant. I just spoke at Dartmouth on health care at the medical school, or not. I guess I wasn't actually on the campus, but the people from the medical school were at I want to be clear. I'm not going nuts. I'm not sure whether it was the medical school or where the hell I spoke, but it was on the campus. Why in God's name should someone who's clipping coupons in the stock market in fact, pay a lower tax rate than someone who, in fact, is, like I said, a school teacher and a firefighter? Chip in and support our campaign. Text Joe I got to get this right. Joe to 30330. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing. And turn this primary from a campaign that's about negative attacks into one about what we're for, because we cannot get reelected. We cannot win this reelection. We can only reelect Donald Trump. So, folks, you want to nominate a Democrat, a lifelong Democrat, a proud Democrat, an Obama Democrat.
An Obama-Biden Democrat, Obama Biden, but can only reelect Donald Trump. We can't be reelected. We can only reelect Donald Trump. Okay, now, it came to a head a little bit this weekend on all this, as I mentioned earlier today. And comments by Howie Kurtz, who does a show on Fox on the weekends, about media. And I'm like, I'm sorry, this is an issue. I know that there are a number of issues that the media mob would like to just ignore. They'd rather never have to talk about any of the things that we're going to discuss. It's called vetting. This is the toughest job in the world to be president of the United States. Does a candidate have the physical strength, the stamina, the mental alertness and focus and mental toughness needed to do that job? It comes down to that. That is a fair question, which, as I mentioned earlier, was brought up numerous times in Ronald Reagan's presidency. If someone forgets what day it is once, twice, okay, you're going to have a gaffe. Everybody's going to have a gaffe. I've had my share of them. I'm on the air 4 hours a day. If you forget what state you were in and you seem regularly confused, that is part of the normal vetting process to discuss what the heck is going on here. We're endowed by our, the thing. The thing. We're endowed by the thing. The thing being the creator of everything. God, the thing. As it adds up, it is beyond alarming. Everybody knows it. But between this and quid pro quo Joe in Ukraine and the shakedown that took place there, you got 6 hours or you're not getting $1 billion taxpayer dollars unless you fire the prosecutor investigating my zero experience son. How about the mob ignoring zero experience Hunter and the millions of dollars that he made with Burisma and China and other countries? Or ignoring these gaffes, as we've been saying, or ignoring the track record, the failed Obama-Biden foreign policy, $150 billion to Iran as they chant death to America. And we got nothing for it. Nothing. Media mob ignoring millions of Americans losing their doctors and their plans. And everybody is paying a hell of a lot more, almost 200% more. If you want real numbers, 37% of the country that have one Obamacare exchange option. That's it. Okay, we're gonna bludgeon Trump with the coronavirus, but we'll ignore how they handled H1N1. We had what, tens of thousands, 12, 14, 16,000 Americans dying there. It's a lot. There is a new big story that is emerging. I know the mob will ignore it because they want to bludgeon Trump as if Donald Trump created the coronavirus somehow himself. He must have manufactured it with a Russian in a lab somewhere. Because that's the way the mob and the media is reacting to all of this. We've got a story out now about more allegations of potential fraud and quid and pros and quos with Joe. And this one relates to his brother, James, and this latest Biden mob family members drawing scrutiny. Politico reports James Biden's business dealings with medical companies, including AmeriCorps Health, has led to allegations he potentially engaged in a fraud and traded on his brother's name by claiming that quid pro quo Joe was interested in the venture and that the family name could provide opportunities. It was all smoke and mirrors, according to a former AmeriCorps Health executive, Tom Pritchard, telling Politico. James Biden reportedly convinced AmeriCorps that he could use his political clout to deliver a significant influx of cash in the form of an investment from the Middle East, and even convinced the company to take on financial burdens, including a six-figure loan to James that he has yet to repay. And James Biden, AmeriCorps, their founder, were among those now facing a lawsuit from medical companies in Tennessee and other allegations associated with this. Here to put some light on this, best-selling author Peter Schweitzer. He wrote the book, Profiles in Corruption, Abuse of Power by America's Progressive Elite. He's the one that discovered Zero Experience Hunter and the millions paid by Burisma. That, of course, led to the discovery of quid pro quo Joe. You're not getting $1 billion unless you fire the prosecutor investigating him. There's a lot of corruption within this family, apparently, that needs to be investigated. Welcome back.
Great to be back with you, Sean. And that's right. I mean, this is just another brick in the Biden wall of accumulated corruption, and it fits the pattern, which is trading off the name, using the name to enrich the family, and using the political power of Joe Biden. I mean, this is a healthcare company you're talking about, a hugely regulated sector, and the allegation is not only were they going to bring in capital by using Joe's name from Middle East sources, but that the political hookup could help the company deal with regulatory matters in Washington, D.C. So it fits this troubling pattern, and it's remarkable to me, Sean, as we've talked about before, that the mainstream media just does not seem interested in discussing this. This is an individual who wants to be president of the United States.
Well, they're not discussing it because it's not just, to me, it's a slam dunk. We have him on tape as it relates to Ukraine. Yeah. And the Democrats had to take on during this whole impeachment sham breathtaking hypocrisy because you got Joe bragging about leveraging or shaking down a country with $1 billion taxpayer dollars as leverage. You're not going to get it unless you fire the guy. That meets every single letter of every statute that I've identified on this program, including the bribery statute. And lo and behold, we now know what happened, what they bought for with that money, because they invoked Hunter Biden's name, did they not, when they went to the State Department after some of these payments?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. They went to the State Department. We know that Zlochevsky, who was the oligarch, one of the oligarchs behind Burisma, was under investigation. They went to the State Department, according to documents that John Solomon got released publicly, and asked essentially for the investigation to be halted and to get the investigation